All right, I'm joined today by Alex from Playing with Fire, men's health, sexuality, dating coach. Is that a good way to put it, Alex?
Yeah, I think that's fine. That's a good start.
Cool. Yeah, we'll get to the other stuff as well. But I've seen quite a lot of your stuff, and also in like leading up to this interview, I've seen even more. But it's a whole culture, and let me start at the beginning, because I assume most people, most kids don't decide to, you want to be a fireman or, the president, not a men's sexuality coach. How did you become Alex?
It was by accident. It was in 2017. I was working in sales. I was working a lot, and I always enjoyed writing. So I started a Facebook group where I would just share my stories.
Yeah.
Mainly, it was like Tinder hookups. So I'd share a lot of Tinder hookups, and yeah, it kind of grew on its own. People started messaging me, asking me if I could coach them. So it kind of all started with that, honestly.
So what kind of sales were you in?
I was working in solar panels, so selling $40,000 solar systems in California to
That's still super
homeowners.
popular, right?
The solar industry took a hit after, not to get political, but after Trump got elected because a lot of investors pulled out because they were worried that the federal incentives would get
Oh,
cut. So a lot of companies went bankrupt or had to downsize in
yeah.
2016.
No, I still know quite a few people in solar, and because of like the transaction side, it's a good gig if you can make it work, right?
Yeah, it just the solar industry was like booming like around 2009, 2010, 2000,
Yeah.
2016. It took a hit. I don't think it ever really recovered, but still definitely exists. It's still definitely a thing.
And like, how much time did you spend in sales in that function?
Um, well, I spent quite a good amount of time there, about 4 years, I want to say. two
Yeah.
year About in a year and a half where I was like training other people, but yeah, and another 2.5 years just doing it myself. So yeah, quite a while.
Would you say that sales skills carry over pretty well to dating?
I think there's a massive amount of carryover. Yes, I've never met a person
100%.
who's a really good salesperson who sucks with girls. Never once seen that happen.
I don't think that exists.
Yeah,
No.
but it's not a
I
perfect
mean,
carryover, but there's a lot of carryover. Yeah.
no, but I mean, how do you say, would it be the social skills? Is that a good way to put it?
There's a lot of overlap, like things like, for example, being able to handle rejection, being able to read people, being able to make people feel comfortable, being able to empathize, being able to convince people, persuade people. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of skills that like apply. Being able to deal with objections or concerns, all that stuff.
Yeah, I've seen you do that. And that was very familiar from my, sales days, where you basically you try to get to the reason behind the objection. You don't
Right.
really deal with the not the smoke screen, but what is actually
Right.
going on.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
interesting. And like, what were you always like an extroverted guy? Were you good at that naturally?
I wouldn't even consider myself an extrovert now. I don't think I'm an extrovert. I'm probably half between. I'm probably more on the introvert side, but I'm not a complete introvert.
Yeah,
No, but yeah, I've always been like a little bit more introverted. Like not completely. I'm not like I wasn't. I've never was like alone. I always had a good group of friends. I always enjoyed
yeah.
socializing, but yeah, I was never like the life of the party or anything like that.
So why do you go into sales then?
Why did I go into sales? It's a good question. First of all, I was like pretty passionate about solar. I
Yeah.
thought, and still am. I think alternative energy is a good thing. I just am more nihilistic nowadays. But yeah, back then I was like, yes, sell solar, change the
That's
world.
dark.
So that was one. Two is sales kind of allows you to pick your own hours. Three is that I was into self development, so I felt like it could help me develop. And I just also kind of fell into it as well. Like I had a friend who worked in solar when I moved in LA, and I was like, yeah, I need to find a job. He's like, oh, why don't you try doing sales for my company? So again, it was like a set of circumstances that just like all fell together. But yeah, I would say it was probably at least partially by accident, partially because I wanted to do it.
And were you good at it immediately?
No, I was not good at it immediately. I became very good at it, but no, I was not good at it immediately. In fact, I sucked at it immediately. Typically, most things I do, I start off sucking at. I'm not one of those people that's just naturally good at
That's
things.
funny. Like the people that will see the interview, some of them will know my backstory, and it's extremely similar. Where you're you're not exactly the most logical fit for the sales function, and then you start out, and then you completely suck. Like we could trade stories, but I'm guessing I was even worse than you were, and you get better.
Pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, trust me, we were both pretty bad. Let's we can trade war stories some other time, but but the the only thing that really helped for me, I don't know if this is your experience as well, is just not only putting in the reps, because anyone can put in the reps. That's not really the thing, but putting in the reps and then having some perspective and evaluating afterwards, seeing like why aren't things moving the way they should, or why was that your experience as well?
Partially, I would say the biggest reason I got good at sales was because I got really lucky and I had a really good sales manager who taught me so much. Yeah, like think about I guess you could call it a mentor, but not really, I don't know. But yeah, it's just someone who's constantly guiding you and giving you feedback and is like determined to help you improve. Someone who's really good at it, and you have that 40, 50 hours a week. So like I started growing really fast. I was also, I think one of the reasons, it was actually a girl too. It was like a 5'2" redheaded girl, but she was also very open to feedback, unlike some of the other people on our team. So I think she enjoyed helping me more, maybe because I wasn't the best, but I was probably like the most receptive to her feedback. Versus
it's like a willingness to learn.
Yeah, a lot of people like have an ego around it, so they're not as open. But yeah, so I think so that was the biggest thing. I mean, she just but she she completely dismantled what I was doing. She's like, no, you're doing like pretty much everything wrong, Alex. We got to start doing this, and that. I had a bad habit of just like talking, and trying to persuade people. And then she like completely took me out of that paradigm. It's like, instead of trying to sell people, try to ask questions, and ask their questions. They get them to come to their own conclusion. And then when I started doing that, that's when I saw like a big increase.
That's a big thing, right? We all sort of grow up assuming that sales is just talking until they relent, but that's not it at all. That's not the thing. And I mean, for that, right, maybe that sort of carries over. But if you did door to door.
I did everything, man. I did door to door. I did call center. I did inside a store. I did like the guy that comes to your home and sell. I've done every type of sales I've done.
Cool. So do you have any idea? Did you ever add up roughly how many people you talked to?
I must have talked to, I mean, I was talking to at least like several hundred people a day, doing this for years. So I mean, we're talking like probably tens, if not 100,000s of people. I mean, insane amounts of people, for sure.
I did some back of the napkin math one day, and I was, I must have been like 15,000, 20,000 at least. And then, because it's always funny, like people ask you, like, how do you get good at it, or how do I improve? Well, do it 15,000 times and you'll get pretty fucking good, probably.
Yeah, especially if you have someone giving you feedback who already knows what they're doing and can guide you.
Yeah.
Especially that.
Yeah, no, I think that's the main, and that's an excellent point, by the way. I had a similar situation where I came back to the office usually late at night, and then you talk through what happens, and then you get feedback from someone that actually knows, because otherwise, you're sort of operating in a vacuum, right? You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure, dude. Actually, yeah, that's exactly. So I would always either try to get my sales manager to come with me to an appointment if I could. And like a lot of people didn't want that because they want to get all the credit for making the sale. But I was like, well, if she's there and I fuck up, she can give me feedback. But during the times that I wasn't able to do that, because I usually used to drive like an hour and a half, 2 hours every day, during that hour and a half phone call, we would be on the phone with her the whole time. And I would just walk her through everything that happened and get the feedback. So yeah, I was doing that relentlessly, just constantly like trying to figure out what I could have done better and what I did wrong.
So, and at that time you're in LA.
Yeah, I was in LA. Yeah.
Okay. You're not there anymore, right?
No, I live in Miami now.
Why did you move?
There's a few things. I mean, I'm trying to make like a long story short. Basically,
you ran out of women?
No, you never run out of women. Although you could argue there's like way too many pickup artists there. But yeah, so I wanted to move somewhere. I lived in LA for 5 years. I wanted to try something new. I got kind of tired of it. There's some things I did not like about LA, and I saw it going in kind of a negative direction, and my assumption was correct. because
Yeah.
like that's gone to total shit now. But I didn't intentionally want to move to Miami. I wanted to move somewhere a little bit more quiet. So I moved to Texas actually. And I lived in Texas for like 4 or 5 months, and then I got tired of it. So I was like, "Fuck it, let's just go to Miami," because I didn't want to go back to LA. I was about 24-hour drive from LA, 24-hour drive from Miami, and I'm like, "Well, let's try Miami, see how I like it." I just want to stay here, basically.
Oh, that's awesome. Like, I mean, why did you grow tired of Texas?
It gets cold there in the winter. I really hate the cold. I didn't realize how cold it would get there in the wintertime.
With your background, you hate the cold?
Yeah, I don't like the cold at all.
Bro, your people like you thrive on that.
Yeah, I know. No, I mean, I don't like vodka either. Yeah, I don't fit many of the stereotypes.
Yeah, okay, that works. Do you
I
drink?
Not really nowadays. I mean, I'm not like opposed to it. Like I'll have a social drink, but
Yeah.
typically I don't know.
And like for fitness reasons or some other reason?
Health reasons, yeah. I just like when I drink, I typically get stomach aches, and then like I just hate hangovers, and yeah. There's just other things I prefer to drinking. Like I got into this thing called kava. I'm actually drinking it right now. It's like a natural alternative to alcohol, and I prefer that over alcohol.
Oh, interesting. Oh, don't know. And like for you, like now you move to. It's interesting because like 24 hours drive, like my entire country, you can cross it in 4 hours.
Hours, yeah.
So I mean, that's not really a thing here.
Yeah.
But so you drive over there, and then do you know any people there in Miami, or do you just
Yeah,
start?
so I had an ex-client who had like a nice house on the water, or I guess a park condo, and he was like, so before he was basically telling me that he's going to Mexico for a month, and I could just stay at his place for free for a month, and if I want to try it out. So it was just a good opportunity. I was like, oh, I can just try out Miami for a month, and I stayed here for a month, and I was like, oh, it's pretty cool,
Yeah.
It's not awesome, but it's not bad. I'll stay here.
Good drive.
And then I just rented my own apartment.
And then because you started out the whole like the Facebook group, etc. in 2017, correct?
Yeah.
Like, and at what point would you say that, or at what point did you decide to, go all in on that?
When my company went bankrupt. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
2018. Everyone lost their jobs who worked for me. It was like 700, 800 people lost their jobs overnight.
Ooh,
I was one of them. I had about 9 months of unemployment, which in California is actually pretty good. They give you good unemployment. So I was like, okay, well, let's see if I can make this business like work in 9 months. And it took more than 9 months, but I spent another year like racking up massive amounts of debt. But then eventually, when the business became profitable, I was able to pay it all off.
That's interesting. Like I want to get into that because like most of my audience and what I do is business and money related, sales related, etc. So you're telling me that you get the opportunity. Let's call it the opportunity. Like you lose your job, that sucks. Now you get the opportunity to make a new start in a way, and you sort of have this fuse running for 9 months, and like if that runs out, I could be fucked.
Yeah.
And then you rack up some debt because apparently in 9 months you couldn't get it profitable enough. Is that correct?
Yeah, no. It took years for it to become to the point where I could I could actually live off it. Yeah.
But it's a hard niche, right? There's massive competition here, right?
There's massive competition. It takes time to build up a brand and all that stuff to the point where like you're in front of enough people. Yeah, I mean, basically when I lost that job, I spent like probably a few days where I was just thinking, and I was deciding between going back into working for a different solar company because I had options. Like, I was pretty well respected.
Yeah, you're a decent sales guy, right?
Yeah, I could have easily, worked for any other sales company.
Yeah.
Like, that wouldn't have been a problem at all. But then I was like, do I really want to do this? Because I could work for another company. What if they go bankrupt, right? And I didn't like the idea that I could lose my job due to bad decisions that other people make. Because right now, if I lose my job, it's because of bad decisions I make, right?
Yeah, it's all you.
Yeah, but I really didn't like the idea that, like someone else's bad decisions, and like if you want to get to like the details, but it wasn't like the company didn't go bankrupt by accident. It went bankrupt because of some really bad decisions that were made by upper management. And I was like, well, I personally wouldn't have made those decisions. So I think it's a little unfair that I don't have my job. So that kind of was like really made me not want to do anything corporate and made me want to try having my own business. At this point, the Facebook group was, doing pretty good. I was getting like private coaching requests, but there's still like I didn't have, I still need to build a website. I needed to have a product, like all this shit needed to be created. But I was never too worried about the fact that I would be fucked, because I always knew I could build a business. And also, like, what's the worst case scenario? I live in America. Worst case scenario, I go back in and I have to live with my parents, who will like help me out. Like what's the worst case scenario? It's not like I live in a third world country where I'm gonna be on the street. So I never really was like too worried about like failing or anything like that. I knew it was only a matter of time before I would make it a success. It was just a question of how long would it take.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being lowest, 10 being highest, how would you rate your risk tolerance as a person?
Ooh, really depends on, that's an interesting question. Really depends on what kind of risk: physical risk, financial risk.
I'm not talking about AIDS or anything. I'm talking about business.
Social. Well, yeah, we're talking business risk. Because I would say, like, when I was younger, my risk tolerance was super high. Even with physical risk, I would do all kinds of crazy shit. My risk tolerance for physical safety harm is like pretty low. I don't want to risk my health at all. And I'm not talking about things like AIDS. I'm just talking about, like, I don't know, like doing like skydiving or something like that. Even that, I'm like, it's like my physical, safety, right? Or going to a bad part of town, or like maybe talking to shit to someone at a bar. It's like I'm gonna err on the side of caution with that.
Why take the risk?
Yeah, but when I was younger, I would have totally taken that risk. But in terms of like business and stuff like that, I would say it's medium. I can take risks, and I have taken risks, and they have failed. It's not super. I wouldn't say like I'm the kind of person that will just go all in on something without any info. But I would say it's medium. Medium probably is
okay.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like a pretty risky thing. Like you sort of reject other job opportunities. You start building the business. You go into debt. It sounds like you are really confident in your ability to make it.
Yeah, I've always been pretty confident in my business abilities, because I had a business when I was like 13 years old. I had a business where I was walking people's dogs. When I was 14, 15, I was going into Chinatown in New York and buying counterfeit Livestrong bracelets and reselling them. When I was 16, I was flipping Xbox 360s and PS3s. So yeah, like I've always been really good with business. Like all my life, everyone's always told me you need to start a business. You're gonna be like
hustler.
Yeah, I've had that feedback like all my life from all my family members, all my friends. It's like, oh, you're so like, I went to business school. So I just always had like a really positive mindset when it comes to businesses. Like I always knew I could do it. And I truly believe that.
What? Did you finish business school?
Yeah, I did.
Was it worth it?
No.
No, man. No. I know. I quit in my 3rd year. Like I couldn't take it anymore.
The only thing I got from my college was an email address that I think I got the able@bu.edu. I have my BU email address, so that gives me like authority.
At least that. Yeah, at least I get something. And then, so at what point? Because like right now, like is YouTube, is that your biggest lead funnel, or where do you get the most leads from?
I would say YouTube is probably my biggest lead funnel, although we do get quite a decent amount from word of mouth, TikTok, and also SEO. Like people searching like how to get laid on Tinder, and our website pops up on Google.
Oh, okay. But the website is?
Sorry, what?
The website is?
Playingwithfire.com. Just
playingwithfire.com.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I would say YouTube is probably the biggest one, as of now.
At what point did you start the YouTube channel?
2018, but I didn't really start going hard on it until 2019.
And then, because right now you're closing in on 150K?
Yeah, we're like 120 or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was optimistic. 150K.
We'll get it. Yeah.
So was there a point where it grew exponentially, or is it like a gradual process?
It was a gradual process, but I would say we saw a big influx during the pandemic. The pandemic definitely helped my YouTube channel, because I think everyone was stuck at home. Everyone was like trying to figure out dating apps because you couldn't really go out. And that's the content I was making. So the pandemic really helped me when it came to views and growth.
Okay. So, and the Facebook group, that's centered around the Tinder hookup story.
The Facebook group doesn't exist anymore. It got shut down in 2018 when a Vice journalist did a hit piece on me. Oh man,
really?
Yeah.
Are you one of those misogynist people?
Well, I don't think so, but that's I guess what's the implication.
but the vice person thought so.
It was a really weird angle. She not so much misogyny. The angle she took, it was that my Facebook group was about revenge porn. So she just completely missed the point. Like, she thought the reason we were sharing the stories was to like, yeah, we fucked this girl. But in reality, it was about like, oh, you sent this text, I can use this text, right? So she completely either missed the point or misinterpreted what we were doing.
Yeah, well,
it seemed like it was like about like revenge porn, like kind of like like all those revenge porn websites, which it really wasn't. Like, we had a team of moderators whose job it was to take down any posts where there was personal information that was revealed. So like, I don't know how anyone could get that.
Yeah, bro. But that, you can't, like you say, she misinterpreted, but I think we both know that.
Yeah, it was probably on purpose. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, come on. It's a hit piece. Yeah. It's the only thing they do, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Vice, they have some good, they do some good investigative journalism where they go to like foreign countries. It was really a shame too, because I like Vice. I liked Vice up until before that. Like, I think they used to do some really good journalism, and it's like really sad to watch them go to shit.
It gets corrupted. It's weird, right?
Vice is a really weird. They started off as a conservative magazine by this guy. I forget his name, but the guy with the funny beard. Yeah. And then they became super liberal, SJW, woke. Like, I don't know. It's a really weird thing, but they're not doing that well right now. I don't think Vice is going to be in business for a while.
No, I mean, it's almost like the whole woke SJW stuff doesn't really match with business.
No, it does not.
It's a wild idea, right?
It's a really weird direction for someone to take a company in, which is why you see like Netflix, for example, pushing back on that. There was like a story a few months ago where Netflix sent all their employees an email saying, hey, listen, if you don't like some of the stuff we're doing, then Netflix isn't the place for you to work. Like, we're not going to change our content because it triggers you. Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah. You see businesses pushing back against that now. They're like, hey, listen, like, no,
we gotta make money.
What we can and can't do. But it's still like super like, but like the tech companies, like it's like all SJW woke agenda.
How is that in Miami? Is that a big thing? The woke thing?
Not really, not in Miami. That's more of like a California thing, or New York. Yeah, in Miami, not really, because Miami is mostly immigrants, right? Like immigrants from other countries, and to them, the idea of like wokeness is like the funniest thing ever, because they come from third world countries where they've seen people get murdered and decapitated. So if you're talking to them about like white guilt and stuff like that, they're like, "Are you kidding?
What are you talking about?
America's the best. I don't have to watch people get murdered every day. Yeah, I think America is okay." So to them, like that whole thing, woke thing, is just like a joke.
And it's interesting. Like it's the whole. Well, it's not a meme, but it's the whole thing about hard times create hard people, et cetera, right? And now we're in sort of soft times, so you get weak people, and weak people sort of get in charge, which is a shame, I think. But anyway, like, it's a cycle. We'll eventually cycle back. We'll all be fine.
Well, we'll see. I don't know about that. I mean, like, I thought we were entering the phase of the cycle where it was going in the other direction, but in some areas, I see it actually getting worse. I see a lot of YouTubers getting deplatformed for like just for the crime of being like slightly conservative. I don't know. I think it's still really bad. If in fact it could potentially be getting worse with some of these social media platforms. But then you have the things that give me hope is like you have Rumble, for example, now becoming more popular. So I think if YouTube kicks off enough YouTubers, then like they're just shooting themselves in the foot, because every time you kick someone off, they go to Rumble.
Yeah, you're sort of adding to the critical mass point. For Rumble. You did like I don't know how long that was ago. I think it's about a year ago that you did an interview with Tristan Tate.
Yeah.
So I know Tristan. I know Andrew. They Andrew was banned recently.
Yeah.
He's like Voldemort now. You can't even name it.
Yeah, I know. It's super lame.
The man that can, and he went to Rumble, and I think that's a big boost. But it's interesting because we saw Trump getting banned from everything, and then the same happened to Andrew now, but it doesn't seem to work because he's still everywhere. Like I never go to TikTok. I think it's a very haram place, but you say that you do well on TikTok.
I don't personally like TikTok. I think TikTok is a very shitty platform, and they're probably the most ethically questionable company in the world. But I do use it for my business, but I don't actually like watch videos on there. Like I don't consume.
No, same here, man. I have someone that puts the content on there.
Dog shit run by the Chinese government, basically. That Americans think is somehow more woke, but it's literally like the Chinese Communist Party. So to me, it blows my mind how like all the leftists and wokest people love TikTok. It's like,
it is bizarre.
It's so weird. It's like, do you guys not understand the history of TikTok?
It's almost as if little logic comes into play in their decisions, almost.
As if there's like no logical backing. Yeah, I would say that the big issue though, like if you look at it, a lot of these content creators who've been kicked off, the problem is they're all trying to do separate things. So Trump is trying to do Truth TV. This guy, that I forget his name, that brown guy who has a lot of popularity, he's trying to do Cozy TV, and then you see others, and then Andrew Tate is on. So if all these content creators who've been kicked off could get together and just pick one, then I think actually it could work. But the problem is they're all trying to do their own thing, and they're all trying to create their own platforms now, right? Which is like a mistake, I think. Like I think we just need to like agree on one and use it. So God forbid the day ever comes where I'm kicked off YouTube. I think I'm going to try to like, hopefully by that point, I'll have enough popularity where I could create a group chat with everyone. I'll be like, yo, let's just pick one, go there, like whatever. I don't even give a shit. It doesn't have to be mine. I don't have to have any control. Let's go to Rumble or whatever, but we need to be on one, because if we're all separate, none of them will ever hit critical mass.
No, I get it. I assume you have an email list, right?
Yeah, I have an email list. Yeah. So
playingwithfire.com probably gets people there, correct?
Yeah. We have like, I don't know, like 20,000 or something email list, something like that. I don't really push for it too much, but yeah.
No, but it is good to have, right? I mean, just like you said, like God forbid tomorrow someone, flips a switch and you're gone. Well, at least you can communicate there with people. And then you say that it's been gradual, like the pandemic helped with the growth of the YouTube channel. So is it, because like when you start out basically zero, let's say, I don't know, 1,000 or whatever, it doesn't really matter, right? And then do you like A/B split test or sort of get a sense of what content does well? How do you do that in the beginning? If someone would want to grow their YouTube channel, how would you do it?
Well, you can take a look at what other content creators did and what worked for them. I mean, you can learn from other people. So I would just take a look at like who are your quote unquote competition, sort by most popular videos, and see what they did, what kind of concept did well. I think that's a really good way to start. I think in the beginning, when you're starting a YouTube channel, you kind of have to try a little bit of everything and see what works. And there's a lot of concepts that we've tried on my YouTube channel that didn't work, that we don't do anymore. Like for example, we might bring this back later, but we invested a lot of money into doing an in-studio podcast. We spent like over $10,000 on equipment. Like we did a lot of shit, and just that concept never really took off, right? So we kind of scrapped it. We created an app, right, for the Playing with Fire app. That one didn't really do well, so again, we scrapped it. So there's a lot of concepts that you have to try that just don't work. But you should be okay with that. As long as you get a few things that work, then that's all that matters, right? So I'm okay with trying 10 different things and only having 2 or 3 of them work.
You remind me, because you said podcast. I was going through your stuff, and then one of the more recent podcasts is with this dude that's in a chain next to a woman.
Mr. Slave, yeah.
Mr. Slave. So I tried to Google him, but I could only find the South Park character.
He's only on my channel, yeah. I created him.
But bro, where do you find these people? Like, is he your next door neighbor?
They email me. I'm telling you, I don't look for them. They email me.
That was funny. I mean,
he's an interesting guy. He's like totally delusional about every single area of his life, but he's like, he kind of means well, and he's like so funny. Like in a good way, not in like a laugh with him, laugh at him kind of way. But he means well. I don't know. He's a character. But yeah, he emailed me. It wasn't like I was looking for like slaves or something.
No, I mean, I have to be honest. Like, I don't think I've made it through like 5 minutes continuous of the content. It's a little too much for me.
Yeah.
The whole the slave thing, but it is like I do respect you for bringing those people on, or that guy on rather, because you have you have some crossover, or you've talked about BDSM, etc., in the past
Mm.
on your channel. And then, is that like more of a bedroom thing, or more of a lifestyle thing, or both?
Well, I'm personally not really like into BDSM like significantly. Like I don't go to BDSM dungeons. I just like, so in terms of like me personally, I just like have a paddle in my room and I might like slap a girl's ass. But that's like the extent of it, you know. And I know
Yeah,
how to like handcuff a girl, but that's about it. But so I'm like, I wouldn't be considered like part of the BDSM community by like them.
that's a
Um,
whole subculture, right?
yeah, it's a whole subculture, but I know a bit about it. Like I know people who are into it. I just know personally it's like not really too much of my thing. Um,
No.
but yeah, it's like it just. I mean, I can give you my reasonings if you want, but yeah, just it's a bunch of nerds who like discovered that they have sexual organs and then they just nerd out about like sex stuff. It's like, oh my god, I'm gonna take my 12-inch paddle and like put it next to your 14-inch paddle. Uh,
Woo!
I'm like, okay, this is like a bunch of nerds talking about sex.
I see. That's a funny description. So, like, at what point? Because you, at 2017, you're at the point where you can write about Tinder hookups,
Yeah.
and how old are you at that point?
So I'm 32 now, so I would have been 27 when the business
Okay.
started.
So, at what point do you sort of discover game?
Well, I discovered game much before that. So game was 2012. So yeah,
Okay.
I was pretty good at game. Like actually, I was like very solid by the time I created my Facebook group.
And like, you discover it. Like, for many people, they discover it, and it's almost like the holy grail. Like, holy shit, there's a whole, I mean, are you telling me there's a whole, you know, area of science around this, or there are books
Yeah,
around this? How was that for you?
it was kind of like that. Yeah, I was started with a book, The Game. My friend gave it to me, and I
Yeah.
remember I sat down to read it, and I didn't get up until I finished reading it. So I sat there for 8 hours reading in one sitting.
That's
I
a
read the whole
well-written book.
yeah, I read the whole book in one sitting, which is something I never do. That's like unheard of for me. I usually read for half an hour, then I do something else. Maybe I read the next day. I read the whole thing, and yeah, it
Wow.
was the best way I could describe it is like this. Imagine you have a disease that's like fucking killing you, but you think you're the only one in the world who has it, and then you discover the fact that there's actually a community of people who have that same disease, and some
Yes.
of them actually beat the disease, and then they have a method for beating that disease,
Bro,
right?
that must be like the BDSM people feel.
For BDSM.
Yeah, well, maybe they have the disease, like, have my sexual organs, I want to spank it, and then they find it. It's really special for them. Who
I
knows?
don't know. I don't think it's nearly as much as like a guy who like struggles with girls because you think that there's something wrong with you when you're bad with girls, and then you realize that like, oh, I've been doing the wrong things. It's not
Yeah.
like there's something wrong with me as a person. It's just that there's something wrong with what I've been doing, and if I change my strategy, I could get different results. So yeah, it was like very eye opening for me.
And when you find that out, you're not in sales already, are you?
No, I'm not. No, this was way before I got into sales.
Do you think that influenced your take on being like more open to coaching?
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Because you actually see it happening in front of your eyes, right? You just realize, oh shit, that we talked earlier about you don't know what you don't know, but that's such a great example where you don't even realize like how bad you are, like, and what you could do, like all the possibilities sort of open up.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think I was always been like pretty good to feedback, but I do think learning game made me a lot better at a lot of those things, like being open to feedback, handling rejection. I think all yeah. So by the time I got into sales, while I wasn't really that good at sales, I had like a lot of like the secondary skills that
Yeah.
like helped me become more successful at it. Yeah, I agree with that.
And then you, one of the things that um, I I think there was a follow-up book to the game. I can't remember.
Yeah, there was a few. I never read any
Yeah,
of those.
that it sort of sprung off the whole PUA, like the pickup artist thing,
Yeah,
right? That became a
yeah,
thing because of it. And one of the things that I wanted to ask you about was, I think Strauss either said it or one of the other guys or multiple, where they sort of get to a point where the the fun goes away. It's all about the leg count and another notch on your, totem pole, whatever you want to call it. Is that something that you struggled with?
Um, yeah, I would say so. I would kind of describe it like this: the novelty high goes away. So like the first time you hook up with a girl from cold approach, you get this like crazy high, right?
Yeah,
It's like this
it's like
like
the first sale, right? I remember my first sale.
right, exactly right. But when you've done 1,000 sales, like it's
Yeah,
like not that exciting anymore, right? It's just like
yeah.
that. So yeah, that kind of happens for me. That happened a few years ago, actually. Um, I was able to get those like cool, like whatever dopamine rushes for like 8 years, but then like 2 years ago or so, it kind of went away for me. Like it can still happen if I have like a threesome, or maybe if I fuck like like a celebrity, I could get a little bit of that high. But it's
Yeah.
like the bar is so high for me to get that like kind of like high now. Like just pulling a chick from a club is not going to do it, unless she's like a porn star or like whatever, it's like something like that.
Yeah, yeah, something
Um,
special.
yeah, something crazy, which doesn't happen often anyway. So yeah, so it does go away. So yeah, but I mean, like that's why you just start focusing on different things. You know.
So, but that must be, I mean, that can be easy with your focus because, like, if you're a dating and sexuality coach, like now you can't all of a sudden focus on, transcendental meditation or anything.
Well,
Like, you
no,
have
but
to.
you still so like I still teach. It doesn't affect your teaching ability. It's just like I personally nowadays am not going out all the time trying to fuck new girls, but I still teach guys how to do that because I still know how to do it. And also I what's it called? Like I don't think like a guy's success, my ability as a coach isn't influenced by the fact whether I fucked a blonde last week or not. It's influenced by one, the information I have, and two, how good I am as a coach. Do I have empathy? Am I able to explain things well? Am I able to articulate? Am I able to understand people where they're coming from? Blah 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 blah. So none of that is affected by whether I fucked a chick last night or not. But yeah, so I still enjoy the business side of it. I very much still like enjoy the coaching and the business side. So I still get like those highs from that. It's just like the novelty of fucking a new girl has kind of worn off. But that's why I'm like in a relationship now, right? So it's like, I'm kind of enjoying that. But we'll see.
Okay.
Maybe in a few years I'll get bored of that too. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll talk again then. Who knows, right? It's hard to. That's impossible to predict. So you're in a relationship now.
I am, yeah.
Um, Tell me, with the time, or how did that come about? Like, what? Why? I mean, at what point do you decide, like, now, I'll, I won't say settle down because that
Yeah,
sounds.
it wasn't like that. It was I met her on Bumble. We were fuck buddies for a while, and we just I don't know, I just like enjoyed her company. She's a smart girl. We have similar values. Um, we just enjoy spending time together, and we hung out for like a year and a half, and then we decided we kind of like each other, so we decided to see give it a shot and start dating each other. Um, but yeah, it wasn't like I just sat down and I was like, I'm ready for a relationship. It just kind of happened. That's kind of every relationship I've ever been in. I've been in several. I've always like kind of like fallen into it. I never really deliberately go, I need a relationship. It's always like it just happens. And I usually think
It's
that's probably
interesting.
the better way to
Uh,
do it.
I mean, it is interesting. Like, I mean, you mentioned that you meet each other, then you're fuck buddies for
Like a year and a half.
1.5 years, and it's special. And then you mentioned, like, you decide to get into a relationship.
Yeah.
While, like, most people, I mean, most of the times, the normie way is it starts out with dating, and then it
Right.
goes to sex, and then you're in a relationship by, obviously you're in a relationship because you're having sex,
Yeah.
and that's a very modern thing, right?
Yeah, I think most people still do it that way. For me, every single relationship I have ever been in started off as a fuck buddy. I like refuse to date a girl until I know her for at least like half a year to a year. I need to like know a girl really well before I would even consider dating her. So I've been in like this is my fifth relationship. All five of them started off as fuck buddies.
And what is your definition of dating in this context? Like, what do you mean by dating?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, like, I do have the option of fucking other girls, so she is cool with that. So it's like it's not like a traditional monogamy. I
Hmm.
would say we're like she's the only girl that like I have feelings for that I see. So it's not like I have like a rotation or something like that. It's just like I hang out with her, but I occasionally fuck other girls here and there, and she's cool with that. In terms of yeah, it just means it's. I always think of it as like means emotional commitment. You're committed to that person. Uh, you know, um, like emotionally, yeah.
Okay. And that, but it doesn't mean anything in terms of what you do with her. In terms of like, I don't know, you go
No, not really. I wouldn't say.
out to
Yeah,
a restaurant or play
no,
softball or whatever you do.
no, yeah, no. Our lives, like, yeah, nothing has changed since we went from fuck buddy to girlfriend in terms of like day to day. I mean, like,
So
small little things like I met her parents, she's met my parents, but that's about it. Like, yeah, like little things like that.
so how does she discern the difference then?
What do you mean?
If you tell me that not much has really changed in terms of stuff you actually do, like small stuff, okay, but how do you sort of how does she know that now you're boyfriend girlfriend, however you want to say it,
Well, I
right?
think the biggest difference that happens is emotional investment. So, like prior to that, like kind of, I would hang out with her, I'd fuck her, I'd chat with her, but I never really like, like opened up to her, and vice versa. Versus now, like, we talk like all the time. Like, I was literally sending her voicemail before I jumped on the podcast. We talk like every day. Like, there's like a strong bond that's there that I really like see, but it's like, this emotional bond that, exists. But yeah, I don't really know how to quantify it in all honesty.
No, it's hard to say. It's more of a feelings thing, right?
Yeah, it's like a feeling. Yeah, exactly. It's more of a feelings thing.
And that's always hard to put into words. Like, do you? That's another thing that I wanted to touch on. Do you think that there's this whole debate on the lay count idea, where it has a different effect on men versus women?
Yeah.
Do you think that's a real thing? Does it influence us in a different way than it does them?
That's an interesting question. Have you seen a study on that from the Institute of Family Studies? Or you want me to like
No,
look
I
it?
haven't.
Okay, there's an interesting study. So a lot of this discussion is based on a study that came out from the Institute of Family Studies, and basically it goes like this. It shows you a graph. So it says if
Yeah.
a woman has, it studies the relationship between number of partners a woman has and her divorce rate. So it says that
Yeah.
a woman who marries someone as a virgin has only 5% divorce rate. When it goes from 0 to 1, it jumps up to like 15%. When it goes from 1 to 2, it jumps up to like 25%. So
Okay.
by the virtue, so if you marry a girl who has a 2 lay count, which is not even that high, she's like 5 times more likely to divorce
A
you.
two lay count is I mean, that's negligible.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, right? But here's
Yeah.
where things get interesting, right? This is what people don't often talk about. However, when you go from 2 to 3 and 4, it actually decreases. So a girl who has a lay count of 5 is less likely to divorce you than a girl who has a lay count of 2. Very interesting.
Really?
By maybe 4 or 5%. But then once you get past 10, it starts going up and up and up again, right? So
Mhm.
like I guess like the conclusion of the study is like if you are going to marry a girl who's not a virgin, marry a girl who's been with like 5 or 6 guys instead of 2 because she's less likely to divorce you. But again, this is statistics, so is it correlation or causation? No one really knows.
Now, that's a good question, right? Correlation, causation, because there's so many things that can factor in here. Holy shit.
But I would say this, like I kind of have like a nuanced opinion on this. Like people either like, yeah, lay count doesn't matter, or like, no, of course you want a girl with like low lay count, no hymen, no diamond. I kind of would say like this. If I'm looking for like casual, then I don't give a shit what her lay count is. If I'm looking for a serious relationship, I would be really weary of getting into one with a girl with a super high body count because that to me suggests that she's novelty seeking. Like she really likes novelty and then
Yeah.
she probably at some point in our relationship going to want novelty. What that number is, I don't know. Maybe more than 20 or 30 or 40, depends on her age and like other factors. But yeah, I would personally not start a relationship with a girl with a super high body count unless there's like some excellent reason for it. Like, I don't know, I don't know, whatever. Maybe she had daddy issues and then she went to therapy and she worked them out and now she's a totally different person. So in terms of guys, there isn't really any good studies that I've seen in terms of like guys' effect on lay count and divorce. I don't think it affects men the same as it does women. I think men are more biologically wired to have a lot of casual sex. So, for a woman, should she marry a guy with a lay count of 2 or 80? I don't know. I don't really have any data to suggest one will be better or worse than the other. I mean, I'm at like several hundred, so it would be, I'll be a hypocrite if I told like girls avoid guys with like a high lay count, right? So I don't know, but I think I'm pretty well suited to be in a relationship. Like I think I'm actually probably a much better boyfriend than most are. Like I'm pretty honest, I'm straightforward, I know what I want. which is things are lacking. So I don't know. But yeah, there's not really any good data on that. So I can't really conclude whether it works like that for guys. But my speculation is that, yes, it is different for guys than girls.
Do you? I talked to Sterling Cooper a while ago. Did an interview with him.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah,
I missed it. Okay.
Yeah, I've interviewed him a bunch of times.
Cool guy. And we sort of talked about we talked about a lot of subjects, but one of the things that that comes up is that for us as men, it really is it is in a way different because I don't know, maybe you're less emotionally involved. I don't know how to really describe it. That's the thing with feelings, right? It's always hard to put into words, and there's no empirical data. I don't think you'll ever have that data. That's not gonna happen. It's just it's more feelings based. But do you think that because you're in a relationship right now, right? Do you think that if you went back in time and you went towards like 18-year-old Alex, would you advise him to, play the field for an X amount of time and then have a relationship, etc.? What would you tell him?
Yeah, definitely. I think I would say like there's no point in settling down like too fast. Like if you're a girl, you have a biological window, after like, 40, you have a hard time like, having children and stuff. But as a guy, you don't have that. So yeah, like it blows my mind when guys settle down for like 19, 20, 21. Yeah, I would definitely play the field into your like, late 20s, early 30s, even mid 30s, even late 30s potentially. Like yeah, for sure. I would definitely recommend that instead of just like settling down for the first girl.
And one of the things I talked to Sterling about this and some other people as well. The whole dating app thing, and also Instagram, by the way.
Yeah.
Like for you personally, do you have a big Instagram? I haven't checked.
It's decent. I wouldn't say it's like huge, but it's decent.
What's your Instagram handle?
Sir Alex Z.
Sir Alex Z. Okay.
No, Z.
So is that for you personally? Is that a big thing with girls where you get in touch with them, or is that a lead funnel for your dating stuff?
Yeah, Instagram is interesting. Instagram is a really great dating tool for the guys who are the very top 0.1%. Ideally, guys who have blue check marks. For 99% of the population, Instagram is a horrible dating tool. So it just depends on who you are. I'm kind of in a weird point where I'm definitely not part of like that 0.1%, but I'm also like kind of ahead of most 99%. So I'm like in this weird gray area where it could be decent for me if I put in the work, but it's not that good. So it also heavily depends on where you live too. If you live in a third world country or second world country, like the competition is a lot less, obviously. So
I saw you did a recent video on that, right? With the Brazil example, correct?
Yeah, that was with Tinder, but yeah.
That's massive, right?
Yeah, like for example, my Instagram in Miami, can get me some results. But if I take my Instagram and go down to Colombia, like I can get a lot of girls from my Instagram in Colombia. Right.
Yeah.
So it's
like
value subjective based on like your competition.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And because I talked to Sterling about this, and I said to Sterling, and he sort of corrected me there. I said, Sterling, the game is easy, man. Like if you have the Instagram, you dress well, you look good, and then you have game, you have sales skills, etc. And then he said, well, the game is only easy once you get to a certain point. But if you're like a 19 or 20 or 18-year-old dude, the game is not easy at all, because now you're competing against all these other dudes that are way ahead of you, right?
Yeah, the game is very easy for a very few amount of people. For most people, it's actually very hard.
Yeah, I wasn't even aware until he corrected me. I realized, holy shit, he's right. And like if you're, let's say, again, we go back to 18, 19, 20-year-old Alex, but this time there's Tinder and there's Bumble and there's all the other things. Like how do you even stand out? How do you do that?
Well, on dating apps, it's actually not super hard to stand out. Most guys have really shitty profiles, so just getting really solid photos, following the advice like I give on my channel, and having good text game, you're already going to be part of 1% of guys. Most guys either have really shitty profiles, really shitty texting, or both. So if you don't have one of those things that,
Well,
like,
your videos on that are absolute fire. Like you're really really good at that. So
yeah,
for everyone watching,
thanks.
check it out because it's very much worth it. I've seen it copied also quite a few times. So sometimes you see a line. Hey, I know that line.
Oh
That's
yeah,
from
yeah. Well, they say imitation is like the sincerest form of flattery. So I should
that
feel
is that
a
is
lot better, I
true.
guess, when people imitate me. Yeah, I try to
But
be not to get butthurt about that.
but for you, like right now, you're pretty fit.
Yeah,
You're if I compare 32-year-old Alex versus 22-year-old, who looks better?
I have more muscle and tattoo now, but less hair, and my skin is a little bit more wrinkly. So it's like I think I'm probably a little bit better now, but it's not significant because again, I lost hair. I think if I got a hair transplant, then definitely it would be like a no-brainer. But until I do
Would
that,
you beat would you beat up 22-year-old Alex if you fought him?
probably not because I have like a lot of injuries and shit nowadays. So like my neck is
Uh,
fucked up. So if 22 Alex punched me in the face, I would be done.
okay, just make sure he doesn't punch you. That's the way. If you do meet him one
But
day.
why would I fight him? I would probably have a conversation
I
with him.
mean, it's for me. Like I did a video recently on the subject was life is long, and then because you're in your 30s now, I am as well, and then when when you go back 10 years ago, every day is like, oh, I gotta, there's a window closing, I gotta go fast, I gotta make it. And then now it's not like you're slowing down, but it's like you look back with the benefit of hindsight and realize, holy shit, I have time. And in my video, I said, well, if this version of Arno fought the 10-year younger version of Arno, I would have beat him the fuck up. But I don't have any major injuries or anything, so that sort of muddles the water. But
Yeah,
you say you have more muscle, you have more of a presence as a man, I assume.
yeah, yeah.
Like if you put me
That's
if
true.
you put me on a if you send me on a date and you send the 10-year younger Arno
Yeah,
on a
for
date
sure.
as well,
I would definitely be able to like steal any girl from
I
22.
would smoke him anytime. Yeah,
That
100%.
that that 100%. Uh,
Yeah. Well, yeah. Maybe that's a better way of making my point. But that really is true. Like
yeah.
it is an upward cycle in a way. Like yeah, you get injured. Yeah, you mess up and shit happens.
But even in
But you,
terms of that, I'm kind of the outlier, or you and I are outliers. Most people go after they hit their like early 20s, they go in a downward cycle. So for most people,
yes.
it's actually the opposite. It's like maybe 2-3% of men for who enter an upward cycle. I think most men.
But that's weird. Like it doesn't have to be, right?
It doesn't have to be. Yeah, it doesn't
Like you
have to
can get way better.
be. Yeah.
And I mean, um, I was on, of course. Like you have a Twitter account as well.
No, I mean I do. I don't. I never use it though. Twitter's like the one app I don't really fuck with. I might start fucking
Twitter
with
is
it
so
now that
bizarre.
Elon Musk owns it, so that could be fun. But yeah, I've never really cared
Yeah.
about it.
I had a Twitter account, and then I say controversial things just because I'm having fun, and then I said I don't even know what I said, but the insults were mainly around my receding hairline.
Oh yeah, I get a lot of
Yeah.
that.
Well, you feel me, right? And, and I mean, to me, it's not a big thing. Honestly, I, I couldn't give a fuck. But it is interesting in the sense that people put so much stock into that and so much importance into that they lose sight of the fact that me 10 years, even 10 years from now, let's say I lose all my hair,
Mm.
and it wouldn't fucking matter because in all the other areas of my life, I've grown so much. Like you were so much smarter, so much richer, so much wiser. It's how can you not get into the upward cycle? That is just weird to me personally. I don't get that.
I think a lot of people just like they just get into it's a series of bad habits. So they graduate high school, they get a job. It's like an okay job, so they keep working at it. There's one chick who's like fucks them, so they marry her. They have kids, and then they wake up 10 years later and they realize they're fat. They're in an unhappy marriage. Their kids don't respect them, and they're like, "Well, what the fuck am I going to do now?" Right? So I think it's just a series of decisions that catch up with you.
But they wake up.
Not wake up,
the question, right? Do they ever wake up? Like, is that a thing?
well, sometimes, but then like think about it like this, right? Even when you do, you have that moment of realization, like what are you going to do about it? Like most people are not going to leave their wife and kids and deal with the divorce process and try to start a business. Like, so they just like kind of like backwards rationalize and just keep going. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's like cognitive dissonance. Like, I failed so bad. Let me now, rationalize all the stupid shit that I did. There's actually, it's funny, like my favorite, well, you won't know it. It's a Dutch song, but it's my favorite Dutch song. Well, my favorite line in it. It's about a dude, and he looks back on his life, and the lyric that I most remember, that I most like, is that he sits on a park bench somewhere in Amsterdam. He's not smoking weed, because whenever I say Amsterdam, people, oh, weed. No, he's just sitting on the bench, right? He's relaxing without
he
weed.
just got back from the red light district. He just finished fucking.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. You had to bring that up, didn't you? Holy shit. So he's sitting on the park bench, looking back on his life, and he realized of all his childhood dreams, only getting old was fulfilled. So he made, that was the only thing that he could cross off the list. He got old. And that is such a sad existence, don't you think? Holy shit.
No, I personally agree with you. I actually, I was thinking about what you said earlier about like you have plenty of time. I actually don't feel like that. I feel like I'm like every year I'm like, holy shit, 1 year older and I didn't accomplish this and this and that. So my birthday is usually like not a happy time for me. It's I'm like beating myself up for all the things that I wasn't able to do. And I think this birthday is going to be no different. But yeah, I think that, I do think that's really sad. Yeah. When people like just don't accomplish their goals. I certainly don't want to have any regrets when I get older. Like I want to be able to be like, yeah, I did everything I want to do. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, regrets are I think they're inevitable. That's just something that always happens.
Well, I honestly barely have any regrets myself. Like the only regret I have is getting injured. Honestly, like aside from that, like I don't have any like major regrets about any of my decisions. Like everything else, I'm pretty happy about. I think I made all the right decisions.
I get this question all the time. Let me ask it to you. If you could go back in time and change something, or maybe warn yourself about something, what would you do?
Don't hike in the woods so you don't get Lyme disease. That would probably be the biggest one. But aside from that, I would probably tell myself to work harder and work even harder. Like my business could be so much further along if I started earlier and I worked harder at it. That would probably
would that help? Like imagine like tonight you get woke, you wake up. It's like the Christmas Carol story with the three ghosts.
Yeah, we have that. Yeah.
So the ghost of Alex future wakes you up, say, Alex, work harder, and then he leaves you alone. Would that work?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, maybe if he's like gives me more specific advice, like for example, if I tell a 22-year-old Alex, yo, get on crypto and sell it before Russia invades Ukraine, like
buy Bitcoin.
Some like specific advice like that would be good.
Well, I mean that's not. Yeah, well, I agree. But the answer that I give usually, sometimes I'm just having fun, but usually the answer that I give is like I don't think I would change something because I'm very happy with where I am. Like I don't want to fuck up where I am now. I'm very pleased with this. At the same time, like I do recognize what you're saying about the fact that you look back on your year and you're sort of sorry for what you didn't accomplish, or you're frustrated with like I could have done so much more. That is always there, and that's never going to change. Like there's always more work and more accomplishments than you could ever get to.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would mess with anything. Like it's maybe I would fuck everything up. I don't know. Like I like where I am now.
I very much like where I am, but I'm extremely like self-critical of myself, so I always feel like I could be further along. I don't know. I think that's probably like I kind of like the fact that like I mean it's a good and bad thing because it kind of like prevents you from being as happy, but on the flip side it motivates you and you do more than that because a lot of people they're just like when they reach like some point of success They just like okay, I'm happy, but like for me, it's like never enough. I'm just like,
No, yeah, then they're coasting.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I have the same thing, man. Whenever it's fair, it's funny. You were talking about the newness of things wearing off, like the dopamine hit.
yeah,
Like, yeah, now now I banged Paris Hilton. Okay, yeah, and then it maybe you have an X amount of happiness or time of dopamine that it gives you. This is very much the same, where a new accomplishment, it makes you happy for, I don't know, a few minutes, an hour, a day max, and then that's it. Let's go. And that, I think that's the same for everyone. I think that's also one of the reasons for the rise of TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, etc., where you can get these quick, 5-second hits.
yeah.
Oh, I see a dancing panda bear, jerking his penis or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, let's go to the next one. I saw
Let me see that video of the panda bear jerking his penis. I want to see it.
Yeah, I'll try to find that for you when we're off stream. But I know you're into that. But I saw a video about what are the big lizards called that look like dinosaurs?
Geckos or whatever.
What?
Geckos? Or
yeah, no, but the big ones, like a massive, like as big as you
geckos?
And me, like a Komodo dragon.
That's Komodo dragon, yeah.
I saw a Komodo dragon eat a goat, and then he deep throated the whole goat.
Ooh.
Yeah, I sent that to a few people saying, yeah, everything reminds me of her.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of short-term dopamine. I don't think that stuff
for me
too good for people though. I think that like fucks people up.
For you and me growing up, you're a little younger than me, not that much younger, but when we grew up, dopamine, the whole environment was very different. Like we grew up in a time where internet wasn't a thing, and then for a while it was a thing, but not like it is now, right?
Yeah.
10 years ago, it was way different.
Yeah.
How do you handle the dopamine onslaught?
Well, first of all, I think the time that we grew up in, I actually think is better in some ways. Like, I think if it would be awesome if we could like wind the clock back and live in that time. We can't. You can't never wind the clock back once you let the whatever, the cat out of the bag, so as to speak.
Yeah, if the toothpaste leaves the tube, it's gone. That's it.
But yeah, how do I I try not to. I don't know. Like I have like little rules for myself. Like if I'm talking to people, I try not to be on my phone. I'll I'll try to like put my phone down for hours, and I'll just go hours without checking my phone when I'm focused on something or I'm listening to something or something like that. I think that's a good start. I don't spend too much time on like social media for myself, just for work. But I'm not on like Instagram or TikTok all the time. I mean, I do occasionally. I do go through Instagram from time to time. I'm not like immune to it.
Yeah, sure.
But I try to like limit how much exposure I get to that. I don't play video games. I don't really watch TV. I think that also helps.
Yeah, video games and TV are lame.
With the exception of House of Dragon, I do make an exception for that. But aside from that, I don't watch.
Is that any good?
I like it.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it. Like I saw Game of Thrones until like season 2 or 3, and I'm glad it never ended. There was never a season 7 or 8. That's great. But I heard good things about House of the Dragon or whatever. So maybe if I find a good viewing partner, I'll watch it. But it is interesting that 2 of the 3 points that you made are about your phone.
Yeah.
Would you say that the phone is sort of the most weaponized form of dopamine, suction or addiction?
Aside from like hard drugs, yeah.
Yeah. Don't do drugs, kids.
Yeah, aside from like hard drugs like cocaine, yeah, absolutely, I would agree with that.
Yeah, don't do cocaine. It's not fun for long. It's only fun for a while. So don't. Alex and I tried it. You don't have to try it. It's great. Anyway,
it's true.
But it is
tried it once. Yeah, go ahead.
but it is almost crack cocaine for your brain, right?
I mean,
I mean,
I
I'm
don't think
talking TikTok, etc. Right? No.
I don't think it's like nearly as potent, but it's in that direction. But I mean, like, yeah, I think like, if you have to choose between being addicted to your phone or being addicted to crack cocaine, you obviously would rather be addicted to your phone. At least there's no like physical addiction. It's like a mental addiction. But yeah, it works on similar pathways. It's just not nearly as potent. But yeah, I do think that could be, something that can, you just spend all day on your phone, right? Like that's not a good way to live your life.
Yeah, I think everyone has had that feeling where you scroll and scroll and scroll endlessly, and you almost get physically sick after a while. Like it sort of depletes something in you. And you can't really like, yeah, sure, we can say it's dopamine and blah blah blah. That's all nice, but it sort of exploits your lizard brain in a way where it circumvents the natural pathways and sort of gets you to this vegetable state,
Well,
which
that's
isn't.
that's exactly how it was designed. It was specifically designed to do that by the tech companies. Yeah, like if they can tap into our primitive lizard brain, then we will spend more time on that app, and then they will make more money from ad revenue, right? Like
Yeah.
big business is very systematic. It doesn't care about you. It doesn't hate you either. It's neutral. It just wants to make as much
No,
money as
sure.
possible.
Yeah.
It will do whatever it can to make as much money
It
as
is like
possible.
the Matrix, right? Where you're in the pod.
Sorry, what?
It's like the Matrix, where you're in the pod, laying there, and they're sucking the life force out of you.
Yeah, I mean, I know like Andrew Tate likes to use the Matrix analogy a lot, and like a lot of the red pillars. Yeah, I would say it's not exactly like that, but it's not like because you still choose to engage in it. Like it's like we're not forced to be on our phones, or we're not forced to download TikTok, right? We choose to do it, and it's like it's pretty, it's pretty easy like not to engage in that. There's a whole bunch of like videos.
Oh, that's a question then. Let me challenge that for a second. Let's say you're 18-year-old Alex.
Yeah.
You're in school, or I don't know where you were. I was in school.
Yeah.
And now every single one of your classmates is using TikTok. Now, yeah, sure, I know you shouldn't be, swayed by peer pressure, but
yeah, at that age you are, but that's where the parents come in. Like, like for example, even when I was a kid, we didn't have TikTok, but I wanted to watch TV shows, and my dad was like, "Okay, you cannot watch TV until you finish your homework." And then he'd be like, "Okay, before you can watch TV, you have to beat me at chess." Like my dad used to do that. And
cool.
I'll play chess with him for like hours until I finally beat him. He's like, "Okay, now you can watch TV." Or he'd be like, "It's too early. Go outside and play with your friends, and then you can watch TV later."
Good,
but yeah, I think like that's where like parenting comes in. It's to like kind of like guide the kids.
Do you still play chess?
Very rarely. I mean, I'm still pretty decent at it, but yeah, not often.
Yeah, same here. Like I want to play more. It's hard to find the time, right? You sort of have to put it aside, but it's not easy. Like there's always something more important than chess.
Yeah.
For me personally, what some other thing that I wanted to ask, like you've grown your channel, and then I don't know if that is especially the case in the dating scene. Maybe it's the same everywhere, but there's a lot of like YouTube drama with people, attacking each other and the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, how did you find out about that? How do you navigate that?
Well, I'm involved in some of it myself. How do I find out about it? I mean, you kind of see it when you're like, a YouTuber. You kind of see people fighting and whatnot, so it's like impossible not to know about it. How do I don't know, like my general policy, and like I guess different YouTubers react to it differently. There's some YouTubers whose strategy it is just to ignore it all. Like they don't like if you attack them, they're not going to say anything, right?
Yeah.
That's never been my strategy. My strategy, generally speaking, is if I feel like that person is somewhat substantial, meaning it's not like a channel with like 300 subs, but it's actually like a somewhat decent channel, I will do a response video and I logically break down what they're saying. And I also try to invite people on for debates. Most of them don't do it, but yeah, that's like kind of my strategy. Some people try to do it with lawsuits, which I think is a really gay way to do it. But yeah, there's just like different strategies for dealing with conflict. But yeah, mine is just kind of like just respond to it, just logically analyze what that person is saying and have some fun with it.
All right, let's see. And then like how many times has this happened to you in the past few years?
It's been happening more and more recently. Like I had it really started with TikTok, actually, when my TikTok channel hit like, it was this one video I released on my TikTok. It was one of my channels, like around 100,000 followers. And I had so many feminists, like at some point there was like 10 like attack videos made about me every single day. It was like so many feminists were going in on me. And like some of them were like really like popular ones too, with like 5 million followers. So at one point it was just like nonstop. But I always found it funny. But that has kind of died down. But yeah, I don't know. It happens like, I would say like several times a year. There's a YouTuber who like, I don't know, wants to like attack me or something like that. I don't attack people first. I typically let people throw the first punch, and then I just defend myself aggressively.
Yeah, it is funny though. I mean, we off screen we talked to each other about a certain dude, and then I think 6 months ago, someone alerted me, or someone said, you know, you got to watch this guy's stuff. It's really interesting. So I look up the channel, and like half of the video is just like him shitting on other people.
It's like,
and I remember, well, yeah, maybe more. You know, I'm being generous here.
Yeah.
And I remember telling the guy that alerted me, hey, this dude is lame and gay. He's just shitting on other people. Like, how shit is your life if the only thing you do is shit on other people? Like, what's going on, man? Let's, you know, if you're living the high life, if you have the, you know, the massive notch count and the harem of women and enormous money, why would you keep shitting on people? Like, I genuinely don't get it.
It boils down to a very fragile ego. So if you have a very fragile ego and you need to prove to the outside world that you're the coolest, the biggest, the baddest, then yeah, that's why you would do it.
Yeah, it's pretty cringe. Not really my thing, but you know, it's different strokes for different folk. If you like looking at the current landscape where we're sort of spread out on TikTok, Instagram. Is Snapchat still a thing? Does that exist?
It exists, but I don't think it's like nearly as popular for content creation.
Do you think like YouTube is going to take over TikTok with the shorts?
It's a good question. You know, do you know who Mr. Beast is? He's like the second most popular. Yeah. So
I saw his recent interview with the Nelk dudes.
Yeah. So he was saying he thinks it is, and I think that guy's pretty smart. So I think I don't have a definitive answer. I think it's possible, but TikTok is also quite popular, and the Chinese government is going to throw massive amounts of money in it if it sees it going down. So I don't know. It could go either way. There might be like a massive war between TikTok and YouTube, like fighting for views. Who knows? Honestly, it could go in either direction. But I don't think the Chinese government is just going to let TikTok die and become irrelevant.
And for you, do you focus more on YouTube or TikTok?
YouTube by far. Yeah, I don't like TikTok is just like as a
yeah. I see what you mean. Do you run ads?
We are just literally starting to do that. We just started like a week ago to do ads.
Interesting.
Social media, yeah.
So you're doing like a free offer, or do you like a low priced offer?
We have a free offer. Yeah, exactly. For like a ebook, or we have a free quiz. That's kind of how it starts.
Yeah, and then you graduate them into the higher priced stuff.
Yeah.
So and in terms of the ladder of ascension, like I assume you have like a digital product, and then there's what's the top of the funnel? Is it like coaching or a master?
No, it doesn't really. So that's the thing. Like I'm both at the same time a good business person and not a good business person, because I don't make a fraction of the money that I could make if I wanted to be a little bit more, let's just say, greedy. So it's really just the product, and then we have a mastermind group which costs like $39 or $49 a month that you can only get if you have the product, right? That's it. There's nothing really above that. If people
Holy shit.
Yeah, I don't have like a high ticket item or anything like that. People have been telling me for ages that I should have that. I just don't want to.
You should have that, man.
I know. I just don't want to.
Please, come on. For the love of capitalism, please, Alex. Come on.
I'm definitely. Yeah, I would say I'm a pretty good business person. I'm a really bad capitalist because I've turned down like every single offer I've had for sponsors, for like all of that, for affiliates. Like I just constantly turn down opportunities to make money because.
Why do you think that is?
Because I don't really. this is something I'm sure a lot of people say, but I truly mean it. Money is not that important to me. It's not my primary goal. My primary goal is influence. I really enjoy the idea of having massive amounts of influence on the world and being able to get my ideas out there. I'm already like financially well off. I can afford everything I want. Well, within reason. I can't afford like a yacht or something or a private
No,
jet.
no, I agree.
But
Yeah.
like within reason, like I can afford everything I want. So like, is me doubling my income going to add to my happiness? No, because it's not going to change my life in any way. But me doubling my influence could potentially make me happier because I could have cooler collaboration opportunities and more people listening to me. So yeah, it's just like I've never been that motivated by money. I guess like yeah, money has just never been a good strong motivator for me.
No, I see. That is interesting, by the way. I mean, I only found that out like I remember I had my business. I at that point I had my business for a couple of years, and then I find out that some of the staff isn't like me. Like they're not motivated by money.
Mm,
Like they're motivated by other stuff.
mm,
And for me, it's very hard to sort of get into that, right? Because I'm a good capitalist. Like I like that.
mm.
Whatever, if you can optimize it or whatever, that's great. And no, I don't mean like you grind through baby seals or whatever to get right. I'm not mean the ruthless stuff, but you just optimize stuff. That's
Right.
awesome. Great. But I found out after a while that people are motivated by different things, and that it is interesting that you mentioned that, like the influence angle. Um, like one of the when people ask me, "Do you ever regret anything?" I usually say I regret not starting like YouTube, Twitter, Instagram earlier.
Mhm.
And you started a couple of years ago. You started 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Like I
Uh,
mean, you did
YouTube,
it
what,
well.
3.5 years ago? Yeah, 4 years ago.
But and you were late as well then, right?
Yeah, I was definitely late. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The golden era was like 2012, 2013. That was the golden era of YouTube.
Yeah. But I mean, let me think. Both of us were in school then, still, right?
I was just graduating from college,
Yeah,
2012.
I remember learning about YouTube. People saying, "Oh, it's it has all these videos on it, all sorts of languages. It's weird."
Yeah.
And then, uh, I mean, I don't know when Gary V started with the wine thing, but he did it for a while. He did it for years, in fact, before he sort of blew up.
Mm.
Like how long did it take you to get to 100K?
Um, Pretty. We hit 100K like 6 months ago or something.
Mm.
Yeah,
So it took a while.
it took a while. Yeah.
And then, is there like a set like rate of content that you put out? Do you have like a schedule?
Yeah, I try to do. I put out a lot of content. I do 5 videos a week, 2 shorts a week, and also like 4 or 5 live streams a week. So yeah, like probably like over a dozen new pieces of content every week.
So it seems like in that sort of net lineup, the shorts seem to fall short. No pun intended.
Yeah, yeah. I might do more shorts. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with that amount of content, you can get some dude to chop it up, and you have content for
Yeah,
years.
I don't want to do that though. I've had many people offer me to do that. I want my content to always be original. So I want my shorts to be original content. I don't want it to be like parts of like longer content.
Ooh, that's interesting, man. Why
Yeah.
is that? Tell me.
I want my content. I'm like stubbornly proud and like fickle when it comes to content. Yeah, I just want my content to be original, interesting. I don't want there to be like any I don't know, any like repetitiveness or like boredom. I don't want people watching my channel and be like, oh, here we go, another video of this. I want every time people click on my channel to be like, oh, fuck, yeah, that's interesting, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I'm like very stubborn about the quality of content that I will put out and not put out.
That's an interesting thought, man. Like, you know what happened to me? This might help. I don't know. I had I put out long form content and also like I mean more of your length, like I don't know, 8 minute video, 13 minute, whatever, like whatever the subject calls for, right? And you do something centered around the subject, and then the shorts dude, he cuts it up and
Yeah.
he takes a snippet out of it, and some of the things work really well, some don't. It doesn't really matter. But I get quite a few messages from people saying, "Hey, I always watch your TikToks and they're absolutely awesome," or "I watch your shorts, they're great." And it's stuff cut up from my longer form stuff. And these are people that would never ever watch the long
Yeah,
forms,
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And it's to me, I mean, to me, maybe to you as well. That's just weird. Like if I want to know about something, a subject, I'll happily go through a 13-minute video. I'm fine with that. Sure, go for it. But I mean, a lot of times we're talking to people with like 13-second attention spans.
yeah.
It's-
Yeah, that's food for thought for sure. That's a fair point. Yeah, I'll kind of think on what
You
you're saying.
know, just something to
Yeah.
think about because I was very much the same way, and I started getting those messages. I'm like, oh, maybe I'm wrong.
Hmm.
You know, it's
Yeah,
very unlikely, of course. You know, but
anything could happen.
yeah. It's like I have a book by Charles Barkley, and it's called "I May Be Wrong, but I Doubt It." That's very funny.
Yeah.
Love that title. All right, let me. I think I've sort of reached the end of my questions. Let me get for the audience, like where they can find you on playingwithfire.com.
Yeah, you can go to playingfire.com. There's no with, it's just playingfire.com. On the website, you have a lot of free tips and guides there. You can go under on my YouTube channel, Playing with Fire. I have a bunch of videos there. I also have like some even entrepreneurship stuff there. So I have like top 10 tips as an entrepreneur. So I basically analyze everything I did that's worked well, all the things I learned. So if you're interested in entrepreneurship, you can check that out. But yeah, I just have a lot of content available for free, so you can check it all out.
Yeah, I mean, for all of you watching, like Alex is a very, very smart guy. He sort of disguises it under the fact that he's a, men's dating sexuality coach. But
Do I
secretly,
really? I don't think I disguise it. I'm like, the fact that I think I'm smarter
yeah,
than those people.
he's like Batman. Like he's a playboy on the outside, but really he's a businessman. So you should probably, study his stuff and look for the Batman stuff in there, not just the Bruce Wayne stuff. Unless you're trying to up your Bruce Wayne status. In that case, go right ahead.
Yeah, tomorrow's video, how to be Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, that's a good subject, right? No, with that, I mean, check out his stuff. He's a great dude. And Alex, thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you for the conversation. It was fun.